Far beyond the reach of sunlight, the deepest ocean trenches once seemed almost lifeless.
Throughout most of recorded history, men had just assumed that beyond a certain level, the sea was pretty flat, pretty dead, fairly lifeless.
But Chinese expeditions using the Fendouzia submersible have revealed a hidden world there.
It's a big surprise. Nobody thought the ocean was this deep. So all of a sudden, we've got scientists saying, why is that?
By sampling water and mud from Hadal trenches, scientists identified 7,564 microbial species, and nearly 9 out of 10 were new to science. Let's dive into what that means. The Hadal Zone explained. When people hear about the deep sea, they usually imagine dark blue water and maybe a strange glowing fish here and there. What they do not picture is the true bottom of the planet, a place so deep that even most deep-sea explorers never reach it. This hidden world is called the Hadal Zone. Oceanographers use that word for everything below 6,000 meters all the way down to the deepest point on Earth, which sits a little over 11,000 meters beneath the surface in the Mariana Trench. The name comes from Hades, the Greek god of the underworld, and once you hear what this place is like, the name feels very fitting. Most of the seafloor is not this wild. It usually lies on huge plains between 3,000 and 6,000 meters deep. The Hadal Zone only appears where one tectonic plate sinks under another, which creates those dramatic V-shaped trenches on maps. Even though trenches cover only about 1% of the world's seafloor, they stretch across almost half of the ocean's total depth range. When researchers added up every trench in Deep Basin, they estimated that all the Hadal areas together come to around 700,000 square kilometers. The conditions here are as extreme as anything you could find on Earth without leaving the planet. Pressure rises quickly as you go down, and by 6,000 meters it is already 600 times higher than at the surface. Light from the sun does not survive here. Almost all sunlight is gone by 1,000 meters. By the time you reach Hadal depths, there is nothing left. The only light you might ever see comes from living creatures that flash or shimmer through bioluminescence, or from the drifting equipment that humans send down. Since plants and algae cannot survive here, Hadal life depends on energy that falls from above. Marine snow, which is a gentle rain of tiny particles, dead plankton, and organic waste, feeds the deep. Sometimes the food arrives in more dramatic ways when carcasses, algae mats, or heavy slurries of sediment slide down the trench walls. Even with pressure levels that reshape molecules and temperatures that stay just above freezing, the Hadal Zone is very far from lifeless. Microbes form the true foundation here. They settle into sediments, cling to rock surfaces, and drift in the water column. A recent study from the Mariana Trench uncovered more than 7,500 microbial species-level genomes, with almost 90% of them completely new to science. Many of these microbes break down organic matter buried deep in the mud, while others use chemicals like methane or reduced sulfur to fuel their metabolisms. All of this activity supports the larger creatures that roam these depths. Above the microbial world, a surprising variety of invertebrates and a few hardy fish species live out their slow and steady lives. Amphipods, which look like small shrimp, are everywhere and have clever biochemical tools that keep their bodies stable under crushing pressure. Hadal snailfish are pale, ghost-like, and delicate, yet they hold the record for some of the deepest living vertebrates ever found. Their bodies show special changes in cell membranes, bone structures, and even sensory systems that let them function in a place where normal biology would simply fall apart. Many Hadal animals grow slowly and live long lives because food here appears only in occasional bursts. For scientists, this strange world has become a natural testing ground for the limits of life. Everything that survives here has had to solve problems that would stop life anywhere else. Proteins, membranes, and chemical reactions behave differently under this kind of pressure, which makes every organism a small biological experiment. Trenches also hold a long record of Earth's history. Sediments that settle here carry traces of ancient climates, past ocean productivity, and even human activity. Microplastics and industrial pollutants have been found in Hadal mud, despite the remoteness of these places. As new technology makes it easier to reach the deepest points, our view of the Hadal Zone keeps changing. For a long time, many believed these depths were barren. Now each new expedition brings back proof of thriving and highly specialized ecosystems. The deep ocean is not empty. It is vibrant, complex, and still full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. Reaching those secrets directly requires a machine built to withstand Earth's deepest pressures. Fendoji and deep-sea sampling. Fendoji is China's ticket to the very bottom of the ocean. Its name means striver, and it lives up to it. Only a few human-occupied vehicles on Earth can visit the deepest points of ocean trenches, and this one sits proudly in that group. It was built as a full ocean-depth submersible, shaped from the start to handle more than 10,000 meters of pressure. In 2020, it reached 10,909 meters at the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench. That dive set China's record for manned deep exploration. Since then, Fendoji has completed many dives across trenches in the Pacific and other regions, carrying scientists into the Hadal Zone to do something that once felt nearly impossible. It allows them to collect fresh samples right from the seafloor. To survive down there and still work as a mobile laboratory, Fendoji needs the strength of a tiny spaceship. At its center sits a spherical pressure hull made from a special titanium alloy. 3 people squeeze into this compact compartment, and the sphere shields them from pressures more than 1,000 times greater than what we feel at sea level. A supporting frame surrounds the sphere, filled with syntactic foam for buoyancy and equipped with thrusters, cameras, lights, batteries, and all the important sampling gear. The hydraulic robotic arms are the stars of that setup. They lift rocks, gather animals, push cores into the mud, and set up tools for collecting water or filtering microbes. Engineers keep expanding its abilities, adding stronger manipulators and devices that collect delicate samples without damaging them. A regular Fendoji sampling dive starts on the deck of a ship, such as Tansuo Yihao or Tansuo 1. The crew inspects the sub from top to bottom. The sampling tools are secured onto the arms and platforms. Then the 3 explorers climb into the titanium sphere. Once the sub is lowered into the water, a quiet descent begins. It takes several hours to sink through the water column. Only when the lights begin to reveal the seafloor does the real work begin. Guided by sonar and maps, the pilot uses the cameras and thrusters to move along trench slopes, flat mud plains, or steep rocky sides. The robotic arms then become deep-sea hands that collect whatever the team needs. The range of samples Fendoji collects is impressive. Sediment push cores are among the most important. The sub pushes tubes up to 50 centimeters into the mud so researchers can slice them later and study how microbes change from one layer to the next. Water samples come from tools attached directly to the sub or from CTD rosettes with Niskin bottles lowered from the ship. Fendoji also carries biological collection boxes and soft slurp samplers that gently vacuum small animals or mats of microbes into containers. Some equipment filters huge volumes of deep water on the spot and preserves every captured cell so nothing changes on the way up. Once the sub surfaces and the crew opens the hatch, the pace increases. Scientists rush to move the samples into cold rooms and labs on the ship. Sediment cores are photographed, logged, and sliced into layers. Some sections go into tubes for freezing at very low temperatures. Others are kept for microscopy or stored in buffers that protect the DNA. Filters from the water samplers are handled with the same care. Each filter holds environmental DNA from microbes, drifting cells, and viruses that lived in that section of the trench. Back on land, the deeper analysis begins. Technicians extract DNA from those sediments and filters using careful methods created for samples that contain very little biomass. The extracted DNA is fed into sequencers that read millions of fragments at once. Since most Hadal organisms cannot be grown in labs, scientists use metagenomics to sort these fragments into groups that represent different genomes. These metagenome-assembled genomes let researchers study organisms they have never seen under a microscope. And when these genome fragments were gathered at scale, the results reshaped deep-sea biology. If exploring alien-like worlds on our own planet fascinates you, hit like and subscribe. Your support helps this channel keep focusing on deep time and deep-sea stories. Thousands of new species. In 2025, a large multi-year survey of the Hadal Zone released its complete results and changed how we think about life in the deep. The team worked with samples taken from trenches across the Western Pacific and nearby deep basins. After studying the DNA, they identified 7,564 species, level groups of prokaryotic microbes, and close to 90% of them had never been recorded before. This number came from the MIR project, which stands for Mariana Trench Environment and Ecology Research. It brought together more than 1,000 sediment and water samples collected between 6,000 and 11,000 meters deep in places like the Mariana Trench, the Yap Trench, and the Philippine Sea Basin. When all the sequencing was finished, the final dataset reached an astonishing 92 terabases of DNA. Nothing on this scale had ever been attempted for Hadal environments. A big reason why the numbers are so high comes down to how large and detailed the surveys were. The MIR dataset included 1,194 individual samples collected from different depths and different terrains along trench slopes, trench floors, and nearby basins. These were not quick scoops of mud from random spots. Each sample was taken along planned transects designed to capture the twists and turns of trench landscapes. Reports from Chinese and international media describe how this effort involved 33 crewed dives using the Fendoja submersible, in addition to many deployments of landers and specialized samplers across several expeditions. The result is a broad and structured census of microbial life in the Hadal zone of the Western Pacific. Once the samples returned to shore, they went through high-throughput sequencing. Companies like MGI helped with the technology and explained how metagenomic study of sediments alone revealed 7,564 prokaryotic species, with 89.4% never reported before. Science news outlets echoed the same figures, noting that more than 7,000 species appeared in the data and nearly 90% were new to science. What makes the findings even more striking is the lack of overlap between the microbes in these trenches and those found in shallower waters. When researchers compared the MIR dataset with existing global metagenomes, they found that only a small share of species appeared in both. Science magazine described the trenches as hosting an incredible diversity of microbes that are mostly unique to these environments. They may fall into familiar phyla such as proteobacteria or actinobacteria, but at the species level, they are almost entirely new. Even within the trenches themselves, the differences were sharp. Samples taken from the slopes had different communities than those collected from the trench axis, and neighboring trenches often shared very few species. This shows that the 7,564 species are spread across many small and distinct habitats, rather than forming one continuous deep-sea community. These discoveries also send a clear message about how much remains unknown. If one regional project focused mainly on the Western Pacific can uncover this many species with such high novelty, then our global estimates of microbial diversity are still far too low. Articles covering the MIR project pointed out that the diversity found here is similar to what scientists had documented across the entire ocean before the survey, which means much of the deep sea has not been represented in our models. The results also came from only a few trenches, even though the Hadal zone extends around the planet with more than 30 major trenches and many smaller basins that have never been studied at this level. On top of that, metagenomics tends to miss rare species with unusual genomes. So even this massive effort likely captured only a fraction of what is down there. Earlier studies in other trenches had hinted at unusual microbial and viral communities, but they produced hundreds of genomes, not thousands. MIR scales that early work up by an enormous amount and still finds novelty everywhere. So the figure of 7,564 species, with around 89% previously unknown, represents a snapshot taken in only a few deep canyons near the edge of the Pacific Plate. The deepest parts of Earth are not just alive, they are full of lineages that have gone undetected until now, and every new survey reveals that far more diversity is still waiting in the dark. Understanding what those hidden lineages actually do reveals why their presence matters so much. Why these microbes matter. In the Hadal zone, microbes quietly run the show. They are so small that most people would never notice them, yet they drive the chemistry of the deepest ocean in a way that barely depends on sunlight. Near the surface, life has an easy formula. Plants and algae catch sunlight, turn it into organic matter, and everything else feeds on that energy. In the trenches, none of that works. Sunlight never reaches these depths, so the microbes that live here have built completely different survival plans. Many of them rely on chemical reactions rather than light. They strip electrons from substances found in rocks, sediments, and pore water. This includes ammonia, nitrite, hydrogen, methane, and reduced sulfur compounds. The energy released from those reactions lets them turn carbon dioxide into organic matter through dark carbon fixation. Recent work from trenches such as the Mariana and Atacama shows that their sediments hold large stores of organic carbon and have very high rates of microbial respiration. They also have unusually strong oxygen consumption compared to the flatter abyssal plains nearby. This signals that microbes are extremely active, constantly breaking down particles that fall from above, and in many spots creating new organic matter through chemosynthesis. Some discoveries go even further. In the Northwest Pacific trenches, scientists using Fenduja recently documented cold seep communities at depths close to 10,000 meters. At those depths, they found tube worms, clams, and other animals clustered around spots where methane and hydrogen sulfide leak from the seafloor. These animals depend on symbiotic bacteria living inside their tissues. The bacteria use chemical energy from the seeping fluids to build organic carbon and nourish their hosts. This is a complete food chain powered by chemistry rather than sunlight. Geochemical evidence suggests that much of the methane in these seeps is produced by microbes deep inside the sediments. These microbes convert carbon dioxide and buried organic matter into methane, which hints at an active biosphere beneath the trench floor itself. Because trenches act like giant funnels, they collect sinking material from the ocean above. Dead plankton, dust, plant fragments, and even debris from underwater landslides accumulate in their sediments. As a result, Hadal mud contains more organic carbon than typical deep-sea sediments and buries it much faster. Once this material reaches the seafloor, microbes decide what happens next. Some of the carbon is quickly respired back into carbon dioxide, which consumes oxygen and recycles nutrients, such as nitrogen and phosphorus. Some is transformed into methane or other reduced compounds. Another portion becomes trapped and buried for long stretches of time. Studies often describe trenches as hotspots of carbon mineralization because microbes there process large amounts of organic matter at rapid rates. Yet the same landscapes also trap carbon for the long term. This means microbes influence how much carbon the deep ocean stores and how much is eventually released back into the atmosphere. They are also central players in nutrient cycles. Molecular data shows active nitrification, denitrification, and sulfur cycling inside Hadal sediments. These reactions help control nutrient availability for life across the ocean and shape the chemistry of deep waters that eventually rise back toward the surface. Hadal microbes also matter for what they reveal about the limits of life. They survive at pressures up to 1,100 times surface pressure in water that sits just above freezing with very little energy to work with. Genetic studies show that many of these microbes tweak their membranes so they stay flexible under pressure. They also produce protective molecules known as piezolites that help stabilize proteins and DNA. Many use efficient DNA repair systems to handle constant chemical stress. Some lineages manage to live on extremely dilute energy sources, such as faint traces of hydrogen or small amounts of reduced metals in sediments. Their existence shows that life does not need much energy to survive, as long as it can access that energy consistently and adapt over long stretches of time. These adaptations make Hadal microbes valuable models for thinking about life beyond Earth. When scientists consider places like Europa or Enceladus, they imagine dark oceans beneath thick ice layers, never touched by sunlight. Missions such as NASA's Europa Clipper are built on the assumption that these worlds have deep, salty oceans resting on rocky seafloors. At the bottom of those oceans, water could react with rock to produce hydrogen and other reduced chemicals. Hadal microbes already use similar reactions for energy here on Earth. The cold seep communities recently discovered near 10,000 meters depth make this link even stronger. They show that entire ecosystems can run on methane and hydrogen sulfide in complete darkness and under immense pressure. Astrobiology researchers note that if microbes can do this at the bottom of our trenches, They could do something similar in the oceans of icy moons, as long as the chemistry is there. Hadal microbes also help shape our ideas about biosignatures, the chemical traces life might leave behind. By studying how they alter isotopes and influence dissolved gases and minerals, scientists refine the targets that future spacecraft should search for when sampling plumes from Enceladus or scanning Europa's surface. The huge genetic diversity found in these deep communities reinforces the message that evolution explores many solutions. If nearly every trench hosts lineages never seen before, then an alien ocean with enough time might also hold unfamiliar microbes that follow the same basic rules of chemistry and energy use. Those parallels force a bigger question about how far life's boundaries truly stretch. A new view of life's possibilities. Finding thriving communities in the Hadal Zone does more than add an extra chapter to marine biology. It forces us to redo our entire mental map of where life can exist. For a long time, the rules for habitability seemed simple. You needed sunlight, pleasant temperatures, and a calm planet sitting at just the right distance from its star. The Hadal discoveries break that picture apart. When submersibles like Fendosia return from 10 or 11 kilometers deep with sediments packed full of thousands of microbial species, almost all new to science, from a world of cold, darkness, and crushing pressure, it shows that life feels at home in places that were once written off as nearly empty. These findings join a broader story about extremophiles on Earth. Microbiologists have found organisms thriving at temperatures far below freezing and others comfortable above 100 degrees Celsius. Some live in acidic pools that burn skin, others in alkaline lakes, and many tolerate salt levels that would dehydrate almost any cell. There are microbes that shrug off high radiation or survive at hydrostatic pressures equal to those inside the deepest trenches. A major review published in 2023 put it clearly: life now appears to flourish under conditions that would have been dismissed as impossible just a few decades ago. What the Hadal Zone adds is a vivid example. We are not talking about a few stubborn cells clinging to survival. These trenches contain entire ecosystems made up of thousands of lineages that have adapted in intricate ways to low energy supplies and extreme pressure. Oceanographers describe the Hadal environment as presenting extraordinary challenges to life. Yet microbes here are not only persisting, they are thriving, diversifying, and shaping the chemistry of their surroundings. This pushes the lower edge of what we consider habitable much deeper into Earth's dark interior. It also connects to a revised picture of the biosphere itself. For years, life was portrayed as a thin coating on the planet's surface. Forests, oceans, soils, and not much more. Now we know there is a vast, deep biosphere extending through ocean sediments and into the crust. Microbes live kilometers down, sometimes at high temperatures and always under heavy pressure. The trench discoveries fit this model. Instead of a fragile surface layer, the biosphere is a thick, three-dimensional volume that fills almost any pocket where water and even a small source of energy exist. Studies of deep sea and subsurface environments show that these settings sit close to the boundary between habitable and uninhabitable conditions. Pressure is extreme, energy is limited, and temperature changes slowly. Yet life does more than persist. It takes advantage of tiny chemical gradients, slow reactions between rock and water, and occasional trickles of organic material falling from above. This forces scientists to rethink how much environment is actually needed to support a biosphere. Modeling studies suggest that microorganisms can survive on extremely low power levels. If that is true, many more places on Earth and beyond could support living communities as long as water and basic chemistry are present. The Hadal trenches embody that principle. They receive a slow rain of organic material and occasional pulses of chemical energy, and microbes fill that niche with surprising efficiency. These ideas lead directly into astrobiology. The classic concept of a Goldilocks zone is helpful, but it focuses too much on sunlight reaching a planet's surface. The deep sea shows that sunlight is optional. Life can thrive in total darkness if there is liquid water, a usable energy source, and enough time for evolution. Reviews of extremophiles now stress that documenting these organisms helps define how and where life can exist. They reshape how scientists think about habitable environments on other worlds. A recent summary of microbial extremophiles stated that their existence challenges the traditional boundaries of habitability and expands our understanding of where life might take hold. Instead of asking whether a planet looks Earth-like, researchers now ask whether water exists somewhere within it and whether any kind of chemical or thermal energy can be tapped. Hadal ecosystems demonstrate that if both conditions are met, evolution will fill the available space. This is why deep-sea science now plays a major role in planning missions to icy moons. NASA's Europa Clipper mission is built on the idea that Europa hides a deep ocean beneath its ice shell. That ocean likely contacts a rocky seafloor. Tidal forces could create hydrothermal activity there, producing chemically rich environments similar to Earth's deep vents and seepage zones. Astrobiology researchers link Hadal and vent ecosystems to possible life on Europa, Enceladus, and other ocean worlds. They point out that the strategies used by deep-sea microbes, such as chemosynthesis, pressure tolerance, and slow but steady metabolisms, could appear in alien oceans if life ever developed there. Recent theoretical work expands the concept of a habitable zone even further. A study published in 2025 proposed a radiolytic habitable zone, where cosmic rays interact with subsurface ice and rock to generate chemical energy for life. The model showed that cosmic rays penetrating ice could split water molecules and produce chemical pairs that microbes might use. This idea carries weight because deep sea and subsurface microbes on Earth already live on similar types of energy. Taken together, Hadal research and extremophile studies push us away from the idea that life is rare or fragile. Instead, they point toward a picture in which life emerges wherever water, chemistry, and energy coexist for long enough. The 7,564 Hadal species discovered so far illustrate this well. They belong to familiar groups yet have evolved traits suited to extreme pressures, low temperatures, and low energy. This makes the tree of life appear much broader and more adaptable than surface biology suggests. Harsh environments stop looking like exceptions and start to look common. Cold oceans under ice, deep rock pores, and chemically active ice shells no longer feel like improbable habitats. Once you understand what thrives in Earth's deepest trenches, these distant worlds seem more reachable as real environments where life could exist. If life can bloom in the cold, silent trenches at the bottom of our own planet, what might be hiding in the oceans of distant worlds? Let us know in comments. If you want to explore more mysteries like this, make sure to subscribe and stay with me as we dive even deeper.